Air 99.3. This is Nigeria Info. Good afternoon to you and welcome. Hope you had a very beautiful weekend. My name's Joyce. It's 20 minutes past 12 p.m. on the clock, and it's so good to have you wherever you are at the moment. This very interesting work week. There's so much we need to cover this week, and I would fill you in as the days progress. In the meantime, I do have the pleasure of having the chairman of and hold on, before I even introduce him, I think I also want you to understand that last week I did mention to you that the news reported the situation with fake drugs in the Nigerian market, and my guess is that you fully understand what it is with fake drugs. And I don't know whether you fully comprehend the implications of fake drugs in the markets when we even consider the issue of not having optimal health care, or say having a kind of insurance around health care. And when you put the economic power of the average Nigerian, it seems as though we are all threatened on every economic class when the issue of fake drugs makes its way to the headlines. This afternoon, pharmacist Tolulope Ajayi, chairman ACPN, that's the Association of Community of Pharmacists of Nigeria, is joining us. He's live with me in the studio this afternoon. Sir, it's a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so very much.
So good to have you. Okay. I'm curious to find out how, this figure may even have been arrived at. I want to know whether when the news says 50% of drugs in the market are fake, how that conclusion was arrived at.
Thank you so very much. Well, we may not be able to debunk to say that's not true. At the same time, we may not be able to completely validate to say, yes, that's exactly what it is. But looking at all the parameters, all the variables around us, especially in our dear country, Nigeria, that may not be far from the truth. That may not be far from the truth, and that's why it's an important topic to really talk about.
Okay, so you, as a pharmacist, what are some of the challenges that you face in that sector? I think if you can paint us a picture, we can dare to comprehend what the situation is.
All right, so let me take it from what pharmaceutical care is all about, what pharmacists do. Pharmacists play a major role, let me say a central role in healthcare delivery system, because virtually everything we do by way of attending to patients in our healthcare facilities end up at the pharmacy for patients to be able to get what to use to solve their healthcare challenges. Yeah. So to the point that you now get a supposed efficacious medicine being replaced by a fake drug, you can imagine what those consequences will be. So it beats the entire system, from the person that did the diagnosis, from the person that did the laboratory investigation, to the nurses that provided some palliative care, and then even to now the pharmacy providing the medications for the patient to get well.
So the entire food chain
exactly is messed up, and that's why our country needs to pay a lot of attention to this. And when I say our country, from the policymakers to the government, to the regulatory bodies, to the professionals themselves, and then to the members of the public, it's an issue we all need to speak to. Because when you look at the role pharmacists play in healthcare, it's majorly to, do all that is required to ensure the patient's health condition gets better, to ensure that the quality of life gets better, and then to ensure that disease conditions are slowed down from progressing or cured entirely, depending on whatever it is that the patient is facing. So we want to be sure that, yes, our system is such that when patients pick any medication, you are sure if you say this is 10 milligrams of a drug X, it's exactly 10 milligrams that you have inside. So let's look at what faking is all about. It can be done locally. People falsify drugs locally. It can also be falsified outside the country and then imported into the country, into our system. So we will be talking about how our borders work. We're talking about how our seaports work, how our airports function, how tight is the control in those areas. People travel abroad and do all sorts and bring them into our country. This is like a landing, paid place for whatsoever across the globe, and that's very bad. You also have instances where even the regulatory bodies we have in the country are not well empowered. You don't have enough manpower to cover the entire landscape of what is required to be able to sanitize the entire system. When we look at the entire value chain, you're talking about the manufacturers, you're talking about the drug distribution system, you're talking about the wholesaling, part of the value chain, and then you're also talking about the pharmacies out there. So when you look at the premises that we call in quote drugstores out there, not all of them are legitimate. Not all of them are legitimate. You will see community pharmacies that are registered and manned by pharmacists. You would also see, we have a lower cadre that we call patent medicine stores. Those are people that have an idea of health, to an extent, and are permitted to stock what we call over-the-counter drugs, but not the high-profile medications due to limited knowledge that they have. But you now have this other larger majority of people that just feel like, wow, I need to get into one form of business or the other, and they feel selling drugs is the way to go. So you have more of this third category that we call the illegal medicine stores in circulation. People just open stores in every nook and cranny, and because members of the public are also not that informed, the level of awareness is low. People feel because this place is well stocked and drugs are all over the shelves, it's a reputable place to source medicines. So that would have to be pinned at the doorstep of the regulators to ensure that the illegal stores out there pretending to be pharmacies are checkmated. And that also means that our regulatory bodies have to be well manned and well equipped to be able to do their job. And beyond that, it's also important that even the people we call regulators also have another system that checkmates what they're doing, to be sure that we don't have human factors. Human factors, by human factors, I mean, of course, inefficiency or errors, human errors in oversight and all that, or deliberate compromise. Compromise can also come in. So it's a reality around us. But let me come back to this. The major contributory factor or determining factor is the fact that the drug distribution system in our dear country is too porous. And if we ask ourselves why, it will seem like we lack the political will to do what is right. Perhaps at times we don't want to offend people. At times we don't want to step on toes. At times we feel maybe some people are too powerful to touch or whatsoever. The ideal thing, I think it's only in Nigeria you would have a situation where drugs are stocked like articles of trade. You have across the entire country places we refer to as open markets where drugs are sold like articles of trade. So number one, when people bring in fake products into the country, these are landing spots. So people, I already know what I have is fake, so I won't take it to a professional, but I can push it to the traders. And the traders already have their network across the country where these things can be circulated. So we don't have a system in our country where we can checkmate. Now the solution is this. There is an initiative we already have on the table for every state to put up what we call coordinated wholesale centers. Kano State has done that successfully, even though it was quite challenging, but they were able to, navigate their way through. Presently now, Kano has their coordinated wholesale center. So many other states are also trying to do this. Now, let me tell us what coordinated wholesale centers are. It will be like a center where virtually every stakeholder in the drug management value chain are present. The players, the importers, the distributors, the wholesalers, and then you also have the regulatory bodies. Customs will be there, NAFDAC will be there, Pharmacy Council will be there, the police will be there, so that whatever is going on can be checkmated. When products come in, they can be checked for authenticity. Samples can be picked at random and tested for adequacy and all that. So until we have such a system, what we currently have in the country may not be far from what that statistics mentioned. So we may not be able to say, yes, we don't have up to 50%. We may not also be able to say it's not even up to, more than the 50% that was quoted. The system in the country needs urgent attention. It's,
I'm fascinated by the kind of description you have given to the stores that display drugs as an article of,
trade.
Trade, and the community of pharmacists, the association, what should a pharmacist look like? Because I'm not sure the Nigerian fully comprehends what, I mean, I think we do, but just for the sake of education, what should we be looking out for? Like the characteristics, the aesthetics, the appearance of it. Because the truth is, if you find a well-stocked store and the government hasn't come to place a seal on it to say, well, this is an illegal store, well, there isn't any reason otherwise to suggest that this is not something you should patronize. So I'd like for you to create a separation between the pictures of what we should be looking out for.
All right. Thank you so very much. Now, when you enter into a supposed pharmacy, a place is not a pharmacy until it is manned by a pharmacist. So you have a right to request to see the pharmacist. And when you are interacting with the pharmacist, you will know you are speaking with one. The other thing you would watch out for is the government license. Pharmacy Council of Nigeria is a regulatory body that issues practicing licenses. Licenses are two. One is for the practitioner that you are interfacing with, and then the other one is for that premises. You will see those licenses hanged. So those licenses are not meant to be issued and kept back at home. They are meant to be hung in that premises. So as somebody walking into a drugstore, in quote, you should watch out for those two documents. Very, very important. They must be conspicuously displayed to show that that premises is registered and manned by a professional. Then you also have the green cross, the emblem that we refer to as it's a patented emblem that you see on the outside. The green cross plastic emblem, usually hanged in front of pharmacies. So that tells you that this is also a licensed premises. So when you see that, and then you see those licenses, and then you have a pharmacist on board within that premises that you can interact with, to a large extent, you can be rest assured that this is a registered premises.
You're also in the same vein suggesting that these trade markets where, so a typical example, someone goes to Ikeja Central to buy a particular drug and it's a set price, and you can go to Idumota and you can get it for cheaper.
Sure.
So what are we dealing with there? What's the picture? Because sometimes it's cheaper there. I mean, you find it. You even would find drugs in Idumota that you normally would not find in your down the store pharmacist. So I'm struggling there because you found it. Are you saying that that's a possibility, that kind of situation gives room for the purchase or the consumption of fake drugs because one is not properly regulated? But if it's coming to the country, the assumption is immigration has done their bit, NAFDAC has done their bit, it's in the market, and the traders are not panicking. I'm assuming that they're not pharmacists. So I'm really trying to understand what's happening here, and I want you to pick it up from there. They're not pharmacists, they're traders, and they're trading these things, and they seem to know what the market requires. So what is the issue here?
That's the key issue is that drugs are not articles of trade.
Can pharmacists trade drugs? Because I mean, they trade at trades.
Yeah, you know, when you say something is an article of trade, it means you're not bothered about quality, you're not bothered about efficacy, you're not even concerned whether you know what that article works for.
What if you buy from a major distributor signed and approved by the government overseas?
Yeah, the fact that you don't even know how to handle that particular thing you're holding. For instance, there are some drugs we call thermolabile products. They are meant to be kept under a certain temperature. There are some other drugs that are not meant to display where there is high humidity. There are some other drugs that if you expose them to too much heat, they melt and then they lose their potency. You don't even know that's why people spend like 5 years to study pharmacy in the university. If it wasn't that complex or complicated or deep, it would not have been necessary to run it as a course or as a profession. So people just pack it anyhow, just handle it. So even if it was a genuine drug from the point of manufacture, by the time you handle it anyhow, handle it unethically, unprofessionally, it can lose its potency along the line. And when we say drugs lose their potency, it's not just that the efficacy is dropping, it is also that component that is dropping in value, in content in that drug, is being converted into another toxin, into another poison that has a potential of damaging vital organs in the body. That's why we say they are not articles of trade. That's why it's one of the most highly regulated profession in the country. It is not an art. It's not what you can just say because I want to make money, let me start doing it. And that's why people are trained, people are licensed, and not only licensed, they are consistently being monitored to be sure that they are doing the right thing. So the country must get to that point where wherever we put as our drug centers, all these controls have to be put in place. The dangers are way too much better imagined than, experienced.
I'm really curious to find out what this danger posits for the Nigerian, because I think there's a distant story, a distant tale of people who have been victims of fake drugs. You're a pharmacist.
Many.
What experiences can you share with us to truly just drive home the points you've been trying to lay down here today?
Yeah, but like I just said, you have a situation
Have you
where...
had an actual situation where someone was a victim of fake drugs, and how that maybe or maybe because you're a pharmacist, you seem to just go for the best, and you haven't really been a victim of not knowing?
Not really. I think the easiest way to go is to look at the indices. When you look at the United Nations statistics, how nations are ranked, Nigeria ranks very low. We are among the least 10 among over 192 member nations.
In terms of quality control?
In terms of quality of our healthcare delivery system. And one of the major indicators is how we handle drugs. And like you just reeled out at the beginning of the program, the high percentage of fake drugs that are in circulation. That's one of the major factors. The dangers, like I said earlier on, number one, the possibility that what people are taking it does not even have any active ingredient at all. So you've done the test, you've done the diagnosis, you now say, okay, go buy this drug and start using so that your health can bounce back to normal. What you're taking, you don't even know whether it's damaging your kidney or damaging your liver. The disease condition you diagnosed is not even receiving attention for you to have remedy to the ailment. And then the disease condition is progressing.
What's the government doing? Because, I think I've spoken to a handful of doctors, and I can't quite say that I can differentiate what the issues are, because the pattern is the same. What's the government doing? Is the government full aware?
Well, I would say government is aware, but like I said earlier on, we need to, call up our political will to do what is right. And no matter who is involved, let's just say, let's do the right thing. Let's sanitize our system. Let's place the health of our citizens on the front burner. Let's prioritize. Let's do the right thing. Things work in developed climes because they do the right thing. But here we just do things anyhow, but we still expect the results to show. It won't happen. And like I said, some state governments are already putting up coordinated wholesale centers. We also have Pharmaceutical Wholesalers Association of Nigeria, who are professionals, who are pharmacists that put up wholesales, because the key issue is with our drug distribution system. The fact that it's awkward, it's just anyhow, highly unregulated. Things just move all around. So we have
I see people hawk drugs on the streets.
That is it. That's unfortunately, even our hospitals, most of our hospitals don't have pharmacists. And the pharmacy law, the issue is not usually about whether the law exists or not. We have the law. It's the implementation and the enforcement of the law that is the issue. We have our hospitals, a large percentage of them running without pharmacists. Who handles their drugs? In some cases, you have auxiliary nurses. In some cases, you have people who don't even know anything about what drugs are. Now, when you want to buy drugs, they go to the same open markets to procure and then bring into their dispensary and then do the dispensing. So the fact that some drugs are scarce is not enough justification for us to go buy the fake or what we are not too sure of. That's another topic for another day. The NAFDAC is the agency that regulates drugs, products, generally food and drugs. And there are policies they have to help community pharmacists, who are the real professionals, bridge the gap. The reason why some drugs will become scarce, less readily available, may not be too far from the fact that very few of them are needed per time. So nobody is willing to put their money on it to register and start importing in large quantities, because drugs have expiry dates. So if you burn your finger once, you don't want to go a second time. So those drugs are classified as service drugs or orphan drugs. So when they are needed, people can order for them directly and offer to the patient. But that's, like I said, a topic for another day. So the fact that this product is in high demand is not still a justification for people to push in, fake into the system. You're deceiving people that this is the drug. Meanwhile, it is not. There are a lot of drugs you see around. You see the Genio pack, you see the other one, and you say, until you look closely, you won't even know that you are handling a fake and falsified drugs. Falsification, like I said, in some cases they are imported. In some other cases, they are even done locally. You can see a drug that is already expired, and then somebody, because he doesn't know the significance or the implication of issuing now fake drugs to patients, enters one corner and relabels. Change the expiration date. It's so common. Andrew's liver salt, as I speak with you, is currently not in the system. The manufacturers have not produced for years. They are not even in the country anymore, but you still see it in circulation.
What are the drugs again, do you think?
So many of them.
Wow.
And that's why we have a lot of work for our regulators. And that's why the government also needs to prioritize healthcare delivery and ensure that our regulators are well manned. We need to look into that space. Let's be sure that our regulatory bodies are well manned. 1, 2, they are well equipped and they are well monitored. That monitoring and control seems to be very, very important. The reason is they are government agencies. And if you don't deal with the issue of efficacy, efficiency, effectiveness, and the way they also discharge their duties, a lot of things can go wrong.
A lot of things are going wrong. I mean, that's even why I have you here today. Now, I have quite two important questions I want to ask you. The first is the setup you mentioned earlier that's right now instituted in Kanu. Any other states on the verge of a launch, or is this just still mouth work and there's not a concrete plan to establish it in other states?
Most states are at very levels, varying degrees of readiness.
Okay.
Anambra is quite close.
Okay.
We just came back from Anambra State for a national conference, and we have assurance of the state governor, His Excellency Governor Soludo, that it will be ready within the next 1 year.
Okay.
Lagos is also working on, but I'm not too sure we're close yet.
Yeah.
A couple of other states are also working, but they're still in trickles. We need to be sure. If we want to deal with this, we put it on the burner and speak to it on the short term.
Yeah.
Draw timelines and checkmate. We want to have this over the next 1 year. Where are the resources? Pull the resources together, draw the work plan, and then track it and ensure we do it. The mortality rate in our country is so high, but when things happen here, we just say, "Oh yes, that's how God wants it."
Yeah.
It just happened. We don't.
It's a tragedy.
We just wish it. Like that. We don't track. We don't do postmortem, checks and all that to ascertain the cause of the
Studies,
death.
research.
Exactly.
Which also now informs my next question: the evolution of medicine. If we are having a primary problem as manufacturing, distribution, sale, if we're talking fake drugs, then I'm thinking it's a future question or a futuristic question to be asking about the evolution of medicine. I was driving around the Obalende area about a few weeks ago, and I realized I saw a building that had a sign outside saying Association of I'm not quite sure how they put it, but like traditional medicine, like herbs. And I was fascinated. I was pleased by it. I was happy about it. But I wondered if it was functional.
Okay.
So I don't know what you know about the evolution of medicine in Nigeria. Yeah. Maybe the joint cooperation of the conventional and the traditional. Yeah. And if you're able to speak to that, the other question I want to ask you is whether as a pharmacist, whether you have come to that point in your knowing as one whose work is to heal people. Talk about the fact that most of our drugs are from chemicals and not from plants. So here we are. Please pick it up.
Yeah, thank you so very much. Most of the drugs we have are sourced from natural sources.
Most,
yes.
That's news to me.
Yeah, because from ancient times.
From Pfizer?
Even
Pfizer?
Even from our...
What's the other one again?
Really? Even from our training in school.
Yeah.
There's a course we all of us take. It's called pharmacognosy.
Okay.
Study of plants, natural products from where, drugs are manufactured. So where they all start from is from those natural sources.
And
then if you are not able to get them in commercial quantities to meet the need, then you can then go into other forms of production. But then those products go through a lot of clinical trials to ascertain that they are safety and fit for human use. So there's really nothing to worry about.
Okay.
When people start talking about, hey, don't use this, they are chemicals, they are this and that, is just marketing gimmicks. To a large extent, drugs across the globe are closely monitored. The moment a drug is found to be deleterious to human health, it will be withdrawn. And then drugs are also modified from time to time. There are cases where a drug is withdrawn, further modified to make it safer for human consumption, and then used. So there is a principle we call rational use of drugs. If you don't have enough benefits to use a drug relative to maybe the side effects that drug may also have, it is not going to be passed and licensed for human use.
In Nigeria?
All over the world is a universal principle.
Have you seen
and that's why I
the
said,
adverts in the West?
All right.
So there's a 2-minute commercial, for example. There'll be a 2-minute commercial on a particular drug.
Okay.
And they spend 45 seconds telling you about the side effects.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that is really the drug the world is consuming. The drug to cure.
They about it. Just pull the data will continue to thin your finish bother on for I want to be sure this is safe for you. It may not be a to a lot of things that people don't say, hey, chemicals, don't use them. That's not the case. I may use a drug that has a report of 10 side effects, and I may not experience anyone. And that's the usual experience. But people focus more attention on those side effects than the main purpose for that drug.
You're saying that there isn't need for of by your judgment. Our drugs are sourced.
Not be so afraid. And stuff you see
Medicine, who's determining that? The government, the pharmacists, the people? Because
every stakeholder. If you're not sick, you don't need to take medications. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, but if you say preventive, am I preventing myself from falling ill, or is the system itself preventing me from falling ill?
That's why I said every stakeholder.
Because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. I don't see who's trying to prevent you from falling ill if they're here to make money.
Let's put it aside.
We can't put that aside.
Every human being will do whatever it is they do for their own motives. But let's focus on the issue.
You're speaking to me as Ajayi.
Yes.
You're a man of conscience, but that's not the market. That's not the trade. I mean, we're talking about fake drugs in the market. Somebody knows the consequence that somebody's going to drink this thing and most likely die. And they ignore that for the benefit of it.
That's
and I think so are the big companies, the big corporations.
That's what we're saying. Let's do it right. Let's ensure it's professionals that are handling it. A professional that knows. We swear to an oath when we leave school that you will do things, you will be true to your conscience, you will be professional with all you do, you will put the interest of your patient above every other interest. People, you will see pharmacists that they can, in quote, poor. But the fact that they are fulfilled because they know they are doing the right thing. They may not be wealthy, but they are comfortable. They are at peace with themselves because they are doing what is right. That's why I said, don't let's go there.
Unfortunately, because I think the oath you swore is performative. The money really is what rings the bell around.
Not at all. The major issue is most people don't get to see pharmacists. Pharmacists are very few.
Yeah. Okay.
Relative to the population, we're very few. Most people meet the traders. Most people meet the charlatans. Let me also shock you. Most of the places you see outside that are referred to as wholesale stores, they are not manned, but they are not owned by pharmacists. They are not manned by pharmacists. They are manned by traders. And that's where I laid a lot of emphasis on regulation. Until you put drugs in the hands of the professionals, you can't expect any positive outcome. So to say, there are two major factors that come into issues of drugs. Pharmacy, two dimensions to pharmacy practice. One is the profession, and then the other one is the commercial. You need the commercial to sustain your operations. You have continued, business, operation, and then you have the ethics, which is, the professional side of attending to patients. So when you're dealing with a pharmacist, he knows that the practice is number one. When you do it right, your patient that gets well today and doesn't have any issue trusts you, and over time the commercial side is taken care of. But when you're dealing with a trader, he has no value for ethics and profession. So this side, which is the commerce, the commercial consideration, is what is paramount to him. So he doesn't even care. He can source the drugs anyhow. You have people that sell drugs that will not use drugs from their store when they fall sick, but they sell it to other people. So it means our country should have a regulatory framework and structure that can
source the drugs now? The government or the pharmacist?
It's the pharmacist's duty
to source the drugs.
Sure.
But that's not what's happening in Nigeria.
Because most institutions don't engage pharmacists. You even have situations where people employ pharmacists, but they don't let them do the job for the same benefits that we're talking about. So let the pharmacist do his job. That's what he's trained to do.
Does the government know? Yeah. Because I think you're rather optimistic. You speak so optimistically. And I don't know whether you're in these streets. I mean, you're here because I'm terrified at the possibility that 50% of the drugs in the market could be fake. I have no reference for that level of madness. It's a nightmare. So does the government understand the urgency of this?
I was shocked too when I saw the statistics, but when I looked at all these variables, I had to, come to terms that it's very possible.
Is there pressure on the government to see why this is a necessity?
There is. But we need to be, like I said, we need to drop the action plans and follow it through.
Okay, so Kano has done it.
Kano has done it.
Anambra is working towards it.
Anambra is very close.
You say Lagos is on its way to it, but you're not sure when
We're not close. I think Anambra will get there before
Lagos does.
Before Lagos State. Different states at different levels. So if we know the root problems.
Yeah.
So let's deal with the root problems. Okay. And that's why I'm very optimistic that as a country, development is not so much about whether you're black or you're white. If you do it right, you get the desired results. We can sanitize our system. We can improve our healthcare delivery system. Let's look at the inputs. Let's look at what goes into the kind of care we provide for our patients. Let's do it right. Let's put up, a proper distribution system for drugs in the country. And let's ensure that drugs are only handled by professionals. Maybe you were talking about the traditional medical practitioners and all that. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with use of herbs. There's nothing wrong with use of those natural products. Aside the fact that usually you can't determine their dose because they are operating at an elementary stage.
Yeah.
They've not taken those products through the process of research to determine, out of all the thousands of components inside that herb, what exactly is doing the job.
Yeah.
What exactly cures malaria, what exactly works for typhoid, what exactly takes care of diabetes inside that same herb. And that's where the production comes in. That's where the research comes in. When you do the research and you're able to isolate those components, then you can put the one for malaria aside, put the one for hypertension aside, put the one for diabetes, and use the appropriate one.
And we're not doing that yet. I thought we are, but to some extent, maybe it needs certainly government backing.
That's why I said we have a research institute, NIPRID, that deals with that.
I would like
so
to
that
have them
kind
on
of
the
body,
show.
So that kind of body should work closely with NIPRID. Whatsoever herb anybody is using anywhere should be routed through proper research work so that we can isolate the particular component responsible for whatever it is we're using it for.
Absolutely. And that's clear. It really has been a pleasure having you here. I want to thank you so much for your commitment. I know you have to catch a flight, so I have to let you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking to Tolulope Ajayi, Chairman, Association of Community Pharmacists of Nigeria. Thank you again. I appreciate you being here, Lagos. We're going to go off on a break. We'll be right back. When we come back, I'm opening up the telephone lines because I'd like to get your reaction on the conversation you've just heard. We're Nigeria Info.
Is a registered trademark under Lasho Trading Services Limited, licensed by the Lagos State Lotteries and Gaming Commission.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
Your number one station for talk. Let's talk. Let's talk.
Quality talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for